Well, when we talk finances, it's a good thing Tanya was just on the show talking about going to X-Halo Spa, because having these conversations can be incredibly difficult. Some of the latest statistics when it comes to Ontarians just out with MNP Limited, and I'm joined by John Hrulovich. He is a licensed insolvency trustee and senior vice president over there at MNP. Welcome to the show. Great to have you back, John.
Thank you.
Tell me about some of you guys just did your latest survey and study. What were some of the results that
our latest quarterly poll has just come out, and consumer confidence continues to decline. We're finding that, especially in Ontario, which seem to have the weakest results from family confidence, to be the lowest across the country. A majority of Ontarians are feeling that the increase in interest rates are concerning. They're feeling a double whammy effect with inflation on one side, interest rates on the other side. Budgets are being fixed. So the messaging that's starting to come across is that, for the first time in a little while, we're seeing below 50% confidence in families about being able to manage their budgets.
Wow.
So that's a big move over the last quarter from what we've seen before. So confidence is low.
Yeah, and I think it's confusing, John, because on the one side, the Bank of Canada raised interest rates because they're trying to help with inflation, but it doesn't seem to be working. Like, why do they seem to use this method all the time? Do we know?
Well, there's no sort of right and wrong answer to the using of the interest rates. They are trying to cool the economy. The downside effect to that is business has to continue to operate, so business needs to pass on that increasing interest costs that they have.
Right.
So that has its impact on the end user, which is for the most part of the consumers. So it does cool at one level, but then at the other side of it, it has its impact on families.
What did the results show about how people feel about covering their everyday household expenses?
Yeah. So again, the results say a significant number of Ontarians are about $200 away from not being able to manage their budget. So that's a small dollar amount.
Right.
And I recently wrote a blog, which is on mnpdebt.ca, just giving families an example. Your mortgage you would have locked in 2020 or 2021 that comes for renewal in 2026 will have a significant impact in your budget. Even though your principal has gone down, your mortgage payment's going to go up about $150 a month. So
wow.
The warnings are in the future, but they're here today as well.
And I think one of the worrisome things is when people get themselves into financial debt, then they start borrowing to pay off other things. Is that something that's fairly common that you see, John?
That's an early warning sign of difficulty when you're using one form of credit to subsidize another form of credit. From a family household perspective, as soon as you see yourself doing that, it's almost an immediate cry for help. You should reach out to someone like myself or a friend, a family banker, someone to say, what am I doing wrong? And maybe there is something that can be fixed quickly, but if you can't fix it quickly, then it's consulting with a trustee like myself where we can enter into some formal plans that can help you. So
right.
Calling and reaching out to one of us would definitely be a first step.
Yeah, we'll talk about that process in just a moment, but for advice for people out there, where do you find that sort of tipping point where they find themselves getting into, as you said, those red flags? Is it credit cards? Is it bank loans? Where's the real danger?
Yeah, the easy money is really the ones that you have to be careful for. So credit card debt is easy to accumulate, easy to receive. Bank loans are a little bit more difficult because there's more of a formal process, but online credit card applications are fairly easy, and I think the threshold of getting credit debt is pretty low. So when you find yourself getting that and having several credit cards that are at their maximum, that's a pretty good warning sign that there's a budget problem that we really have to focus on.
Yeah, I mean, my philosophy has always been one credit card and that's it. And I know people get into trouble and they sort of panic, and that brings me to let's talk about, you mentioned contacting somebody like yourself. So somebody finds themselves in a situation where they have to hit the panic button. What options are available from somebody like yourself, John?
There's two main options. So you can reach us anywhere in the province by calling 310-DEBT, very simple phone number to reach, or go to our website at mnpdebt.ca. There's two options: are consumer proposal, which is essentially telling your creditors, I can't pay you in full, but I want to pay you something. and we come up with a number. And then the second option, which is a little bit more drastic, is the bankruptcy option, where it simply says, I really can't pay you. So we look at both options and try to tailor which one is best for the household.
Is it challenging, I mean, on your end? Because, you know, you're going to creditors and saying to them, listen, we're going to give you 70 cents on the dollar now instead of the full amount. Do you get pushback? Like, how does that relationship work between yourselves and creditors?
Yeah, so essentially we fall in the position of being the middle person. So we
Right.
represent the interests of the debtor, also the interests of the creditors. So we try to find that middle ground where both sides can be happy. There's never a win on either side. So it's what's the middle ground where both sides can come out of the arrangement that we enter into with the creditor and with the debtor, that they're both reasonably happy.
Okay,
so
I see.
That's really our job, is to make that happen. Some days easier, some days worse. Just depends on the nature of the file.
John, if I come see you, what sort of information should I bring? What do you need to see from me as a client?
Essentially, our first initial contact, we can do them on the phone, by video, is just a list of your creditors, what your assets may be, and what your household income is. We can start with that and
Okay.
then map out a plan fairly quickly, and then we get into more detail as we move along.
John, when people bring that information to you and it gets laid out on the table, do you find oftentimes that clients are shocked what they're spending on and where they're spending their money?
Yeah, part of the process that we work with, we talk about budgeting, and that's part of the counseling that we do. It may be shocking for you on a level of debt, but that's all relative to the household. So a high debt
I
load
see.
for you versus me could be different. So, you know, the good thing that we bring to the table is we're a neutral party. We look at it,
Right.
we look at your budget, we look at your debt, and we look at your assets, and we find a plan that works to that household. And one plan for one household may be different than a plan for another household, because things are different.
I got about 30 seconds left. Just quickly, you know, when people hear that word bankruptcy, it frightens them, but it's not the end of the world, is it?
Correct. It's an outcome to alleviate a situation, because if you don't change the path will continue. So
Right.
bankruptcy does put a stop to that process and allows you to pivot, rebrand, and move on. And that's really the most important thing you have to come out of that whole process, is that you can rebrand and move on and start things fresh.
Excellent. We just brought up the website, so I don't even have to repeat it. Really
Okay.
appreciate the time, John.
Thank you for having me
you so
again.
much. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Again, if you need to reach out, please do. We'll be right back after this.